Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new episode of Games. Our sport for this episode is the sport of Aikido, and our featured star guest is Sensei Mahmoud Al-Fouli, trainer of the Aikido sport here in Egypt. So let's get to know more about Aikido in Egypt and about Sensei Al-Fouli in the upcoming minutes of Games and Names.
Aikido is a modern Japanese martial art developed by Morei Ueshiba, a synthesis of his martial studies, philosophy, and religious beliefs. Ueshiba's goal was to create an art that practitioners could use to defend themselves while also protecting their attackers from injury. Aikido is often translated as the way of unifying with life energy or as the way of harmonious spirit. Aikido's techniques include irimi, that's entering, and tenkan, turning, that redirect the opponent's attack momentum, and various types of throws and joint locks. Aikido was first introduced to the rest of the world in 1951 by Minoru Mochizuki with a visit to France where he demonstrated Aikido techniques to judo students. He was followed by Tadashi Abi in 1952, who came as the official Aikikai Hombu representative, remaining in France for several years. Kenji Tomiki toured with a delegation of various martial arts through 15 continental states of the US in 1953. Later that year, Koichi Toei was sent by Aikikai Hombu to Hawaii for a full year, where he set up several dojo. This trip was followed by several subsequent visits and is considered the formal introduction of Aikido in the US. The UK followed in 1955, Italy in 1964 by Hiroshi Tada, and Germany in 1965 by Katsuaki Azai. Designated the official delegate for Europe and Africa by Morei Ueshiba, Maizamichi Noro arrived in France in September 1961. Seiichi Sugano was appointed to introduce Aikido to Australia in 1965. Today, there are Aikido dojo throughout the world. In Aikido, as in virtually all Japanese martial arts, there are both physical and mental aspects of training. The physical training in Aikido is diverse, covering both general physical fitness and conditioning, as well as specific techniques. Because a substantial portion of any Aikido curriculum consists of throws, beginners learn how to safely fall or roll. The specific techniques for attack include both strikes and grabs. The techniques for defense consist of throws and pins. After basic techniques are learned, students study freestyle defense against multiple opponents and techniques with weapons. Physical training goals pursued in conjunction with Aikido include controlled relaxation, correct movement of joints such as hips and shoulders, flexibility, and endurance, with less emphasis on strength training. In Aikido, pushing or extending movements are much more common than pulling or contracting movements. This distinction can be applied to general fitness goals for the Aikido practitioner. In Aikido, specific muscles or muscle groups are not isolated and work to improve tone, mass, or power. Aikido-related training emphasizes the use of coordinated whole-body movements and balance similar to yoga or pilates. Aikido makes use of body movements to blend the movement of tori with the movement of uki. For example, an entering irimi technique consists of movements inward towards uki, while a turning tenkan technique uses a pivoting motion. Additionally, an inside or uchi technique takes place in front of uki, whereas an outside or soto technique takes place to their side. A front or omoti technique is applied with motion to the front of uki, and a rear or ora virgin is applied with motion towards the rear of uki usually by incorporating a turning or pivoting motion. Finally, most techniques can be performed while in a seated posture or seiza.
محمود الفولي مدرب ايكيدو.
My name is Mahmoud Al-Fouli. I am an Aikido trainer. I'm the head of the committee of trainers at the Egyptian Association for Judo and Aikido. I have gained 4 dans in the Egyptian Association for Aikido and Judo, and 4 Italian dans, and 3 in the Aikikai, that's the International Association for Aikido. Aikido is a Japanese sport that began in modern times, like Judo, Kimbo, and Karate. It gets its traditions from old martial arts called Budo. In 1920, the Aikido was known to the world, and Mori Yoshibo was the one who founded this methodology, but the Japanese government at the time did not acknowledge the sport until the year 1940. It was first called Aikibudo. In 1942, it was called Aikido, and has been the case since then. This Aikido sport is formed of a number of letters. The I is for harmony, K is for energy or potential energy, and also the rest is for the road. So the road to harmony between power and finesse. We depend on 2 main elements in our sport. These elements are Aikido Jetso, which in turn is divided into 2 elements depending on throwing, and Bukiwaza. And Bukiwaza in turn is formed of 3 elements: the Jo, or the use of the javelin, and the pocket, and Tantu.
الايكيدو في مصر بدأ سنة 1981.
Aikido in Egypt started in 1981. That was due to the efforts of a Japanese engineer who came to work in Egypt. And Captain Muhammad Said and Captain Muhammad As-Sibai were the first to train under this Japanese sensei, and that was in Zamalek Sporting Club. Then Sensei traveled to Turkey and became in another Japanese sensei, and then a number of Egyptian trainers like Captain Hisham Riyad joined the efforts along with Captain Muhammad Said and Captain As-Sibai and Captain Hisham Riyad, and that was until 2004. In 2004, the Japanese JICA sent a group of experts in Egypt that stayed for 2.5 years. And Ono Sensei had a great role who stayed more than 2 years. And those experts really have a great credit to the formation, a foundation of Aikido in Egypt in 18 governorates at the time, like the school of Takimusu and Takitest.
الايكيدو هو فن غير قابل للتنافس.
Aikido is an art. It's not a competitive sport. It doesn't have championships. Its championships are not international championships. It does not have a strict point system like many other martial arts, unlike Jiu-Jitsu or other martial arts. So Aikido is an art. The aim of practicing Aikido is peace, and it suits all age categories. Again, it's not a competitive sport, so you don't need a lot of fitness, power, or strength. So you can practice the sport at a very young age, or even at the age of 60, and over 60, believe it or not. And we have some players who are over 60. I only need a sound heart and for the athlete to be able to run even for a small distance. We have a lot of seminars in our sport that aim to raise the awareness about Aikido internationally. And these seminars are under the supervision of Aikikai. The most important country in the sport of Aikido is, of course, Japan, the founder of the sport. And then many European countries are also very strong in the sport and have a lot of experts. We have experts like Daniel Potan and Paolo Carolini. In Arab countries, we also have a number of great experts, especially Sabah in Algeria. As for Aikikai, it is, it's spread all around the world.
متهيألي ان اكتر حاجه ممكن تخلي النشاط يستمر ويكبر في مصر هو مش لازم نعمل سيمينارات بتتعمل في القاهره، يعني مره تعمل في القاهره، مره في اسكندريه، مره في الوادي، لان نقل الخبرات دي تخلي الناس تبص وتشاهد وتقرر ان هي تمارس
اللعبه. So we spread it geographically. When we come into the ring, we make sure that everybody is wearing the uniform, and then everybody sits according to the order of their belts. So we make the salute and then the warm-up, and then we start the exercise, the moves and the shiko, the floor moves, and then we practice the floor techniques and the other techniques. As for Joe, we have a number of katas that are either individual or a duo exercise with two players. So we have the individual katas or the Iwase, which has two players. As for Tanto, there are only individual techniques and practices and skills. Of course, there is an exchange of expertise between us here in Egypt and other countries in the region, especially Algeria, which is a leader along with us, and Morocco in the region. I personally stayed for a number of years in Saudi Arabia to try and help raise awareness about the sport and spread the sport of Aikido there. In the Arab region, along with Egypt, there is Morocco and Algeria. Now Saudi Arabia is getting into the sport strongly, and so is the United Arab Emirates and Lebanon. but Lebanon has more UWAMA, and also Libya. We have many experts in our sport. I talked to you before about some of these names, and I want to talk first about those who have left our world, because, I mean, they are the ones who made Aikido an international sport. So we have the late Sato Sensei, the founder of UWAMA. And of course, he's one of the great students of Morihei Ueshiba. And we also have, of course, Daniel Totan and Paolo Carolini in Europe. And in 2011, we had a delegation that left Egypt to Europe and stayed for 2 years studying under Paolo Carolini, and those lucky enough to have gone there have really helped spread the sport here in Egypt and have been a great addition and enlightenment to Aikido in Egypt.
I
think that Aikido is a good sport for all ages, for any age. We don't exert a lot of effort in our sport. It's a light sport aimed at raising self-confidence and spreading peace. I wish to see more Egyptian experts in the sport, and I wish to see them gain more expertise by traveling to the countries that lead the way globally in the sport of Aikido.